My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I used to believe that keeping quiet was the same as keeping peace. For years, I convinced myself that forgiveness was strength, that understanding was love, that family meant enduring anything without complaint. I was wrong about all of it. Let me tell you what happened to me. It was a Thursday afternoon in late October when I drove back to the house where I grew up. The street looked exactly the same, oak trees lining both sides, their leaves turning gold and red, the smell of wood smoke drifting from someone's chimney. I'd been gone for 3 months, staying with my college roommate in another state, trying to piece myself back together after my mother's death, and my divorce happened within weeks of each other. I was finally ready to start dealing with Mom's estate. The house, her belongings, all the painful logistics of closing a chapter of your life. But when I turned onto Maple Street, I saw something that made my hands go cold on the steering wheel. A bright red and white sign in the front yard. Sold. I sat in my car for a long time, engine running, staring at that sign. It didn't make sense. Mom had left the house to both of us. Me and my older sister Jennifer split 50-50 in her will. We were supposed to decide together what to do with it. Sell it. Keep it. Rent it together. Mrs. Chen from next door was watering her garden. She waved when she saw me, walked over with a friendly smile. "Sarah, you're back. Your sister sold the place pretty quick, didn't she? Nice young couple bought it. They seem sweet." My throat closed. When? Oh, about 6 weeks ago. They moved in last month. I managed to nod, to smile, to say something about being glad it went to a good family. Then I drove around the block 3 times before I could make myself call Jennifer. She answered on the 4th ring. "Sarah, hey, you're back? Jen, what happened to the house?" A pause. Then casually, like we were discussing the weather, "I sold it. Someone had to handle things. And you were dealing with your stuff. We were supposed to decide together. You weren't answering your phone half the time. And the market was good. I got a decent price." My hands were shaking. "That was our mother's house, yeah. And now it's sold. Look, I put your half in a savings account. We can deal with it when you're ready to talk like an adult." She hung up. I sat in a Target parking lot for 2 hours, unable to move, unable to think. People walked past my car with shopping carts, living their normal lives, while mine crumbled into something I didn't recognize. How was this possible? How could she sell our mother's house without my signature? But I didn't know yet that this wasn't just about the house. I didn't know that my sister had used my grief, my absence, my trust, and turned it all into permission to commit fraud. Looking back now, I can see all the signs I missed. But at the time, I just felt lost. And that's exactly what Jennifer was counting on. To understand how we got here, I need to go back further. Jennifer and I were never close. Not really. She was the golden child, charismatic, confident, the one who always knew what to say at family gatherings. I was quiet, bookish, the one who became a high school English teacher because I liked the safety of routines and lesson plans. Mom loved us both. I know she did. But Jennifer had a way of taking up all the oxygen in a room. And I learned early that it was easier to step back than to compete. Over the years, Jennifer had her struggles. Bad relationships, impulsive decisions, money problems that somehow always became emergencies. And I helped. Of course I helped. That's what sisters do. $2,200 when her car died. $1,800 for rent when she lost a job. $3,000 when she got into credit card trouble. Another $5,000 a year later for investments that never materialized. I kept track at first, telling myself she'd pay me back. Eventually, I stopped counting. It was easier than admitting I was being used. Then Mom got sick. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. Diagnosed in January. The doctors gave her 6 months. She lasted 5. I took family leave from school and became her primary caregiver. Jennifer visited, sure, but she was so busy with work or dealing with personal stuff. I was the one who drove Mom to chemo appointments, held her hair when she was sick, stayed up with her at night when the pain was too much. Near the end, Mom needed a medical power of attorney, someone to make healthcare decisions if she couldn't. She asked me, but I suggested Jennifer. I was already doing so much, and I thought maybe it would help Jennifer feel included, important. Mom agreed. Jennifer signed the papers at the hospital. I didn't read them carefully. I was exhausted, grieving, just trying to get through each day. Mom died on a Tuesday morning in March, with me holding her hand and Jennifer stuck in traffic, arriving 20 minutes too late. 2 weeks after the funeral, my husband told me he was leaving. He'd met someone else. The divorce was quick, no kids, no real assets to split besides some furniture and my teacher's retirement account. I was drowning. Grief, betrayal, exhaustion, it all pressed down on me until I couldn't breathe. My friend Rachel, who I'd known since college, called and said, "Come stay with me. Get out of there for a while." So I did. I took a semester leave, packed a suitcase, and left. Jennifer said she'd keep an eye on things. I trusted her. I actually believed that for once, she'd step up. Instead, she saw an opportunity. The morning after I found out about the house, I drove to the county clerk's office downtown. The building smelled like old paper and floor wax. I stood in line behind a man trying to get a marriage license, my heart pounding. When it was my turn, I explained as calmly as I could that I needed to see the property records for my mother's house. The clerk, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, pulled up the file on her computer. "Oh yes, here it is. Sale completed in July. Looks like it went through pretty quickly. Can you tell me who signed the sale documents?" She scrolled, clicking through screens. Jennifer Mitchell, acting under power of attorney for the estate. My stomach dropped. "Can I get copies of everything?" "Sure, honey. Give me a few minutes." I sat in a plastic chair by the window, watching people walk by outside, living their normal lives. When she handed me the folder, it felt like it weighed 100 pounds. That night, I spread everything across my hotel room bed. The sale price was $170,000, about $15,000 below market value. Jennifer had rushed it, probably to close before I came back. The buyer was a real estate investment company, and there in the paperwork was a copy of the power of attorney Mom had signed. Medical power of attorney for healthcare decisions. It said nothing about property, nothing about financial decisions. And even if it had, it expired the moment Mom died. I didn't sleep that night. I just kept rereading those papers, understanding slowly, painfully, that my sister had committed fraud. She'd used a document that gave her no legal authority to sell a house that was half mine. The next morning, I Googled estate lawyers near me and started calling. The third lawyer I tried offered a free initial consultation. His name was Marcus Reed, and his office was in a modest building near the courthouse. I showed up 15 minutes early, clutching my folder of documents like a lifeline. Marcus was in his 50s, with gray hair and the calm demeanor of someone who'd seen everything. He listened to my story without interrupting, then asked to see the paperwork. He studied it for a long time. Finally, he looked up. "Miss Mitchell, this is fraud, clear cut." Hearing someone say it out loud made it real. I started crying, right there in his office. He handed me tissues and waited. "What can I do?" I asked. "Several things. First, we send your sister a formal demand letter. She needs to understand the legal position she's in. Second, we notify the buyer that the sale was fraudulent. They might be willing to reverse it to avoid litigation. Third, if your sister doesn't cooperate, we file a civil suit for fraud and petition to void the sale." "What about criminal charges?" "That's possible too. Forgery, fraud. I know the district attorney. If you want to pursue that route, I can make an introduction." I felt dizzy. "She's my sister. I know. And this is going to get ugly, Miss Mitchell. Family cases always do. You need to decide if you're ready for that." I thought about my mother, about the house she'd bought with her own savings after the divorce, the place where she'd raised us, where she died. I thought about Jennifer casually erasing all of that to pay off gambling debts and credit cards. "I'm ready," I said. Over the next week, Marcus helped me build the case. We gathered everything, the original will, clearly stating the house was split between Jennifer and me. The death certificate, proving the power of attorney expired. Emails I found on Mom's old computer, between Jennifer and a real estate agent, with subject lines like "need to close fast" and "before sister returns." I also learned, through a cousin, that Jennifer had been borrowing money from everyone in the family. She owed our aunt $8,000. She'd taken a loan from Mom's church friend. She was drowning in debt and she'd seen Mom's house as a lifeboat. Marcus sent the demand letter on a Monday. It was formal, cold, laying out exactly what Jennifer had done and what would happen if she didn't immediately work to make it right. She called me that evening, screaming, "How could you do this? I'm your sister. You stole from me, Jen. I was going to split the money with you. You needed to forge documents and sell our mother's house without telling me." Silence. Then, "My lawyer says you can't prove anything. Your lawyer's wrong. And you know it." She hung up. But 2 days later, Marcus got a call from her attorney, asking about a meeting. The meeting was set for Thursday afternoon at Marcus's office. Neutral ground. I arrived 30 minutes early, my hands trembling as I poured myself water from the cooler in the waiting room. Marcus came out of his office. "You ready?" "No, but let's do it anyway." Jennifer arrived 10 minutes late with her husband, David, who I'd only met a handful of times. He looked confused, like he didn't understand why he was there. Jennifer looked angry, her jaw set, eyes hard. We sat around a conference table, me and Marcus on one side, Jennifer and David on the other. The room smelled like coffee and old wood. Marcus began, "Thank you for coming. I think we can resolve this without litigation if everyone's willing to be honest." Jennifer crossed her arms. "This is ridiculous. Mom wanted me to handle her affairs." Marcus slid the will across the table. "The will says otherwise. The house was left equally to both daughters. I had power of attorney, medical power of attorney." Marcus placed the document beside the will. "For healthcare decisions. It expired when your mother died. You had no authority to sell that property." Jennifer's face flushed. "That's a technicality. It's the law," Marcus said calmly. "And you knew it. These emails show you specifically waited until Sarah was out of state and timed the sale to close before she returned." He slid printouts of the emails across the table. David picked one up, reading, "Jen, what is this?" His voice was quiet, strained. "It's nothing. I was handling things. You told me your mom left the house to you," David said. "You said Sarah didn't want it." Jennifer's eyes darted between us. "I was going to tell her when?" I asked. My voice came out steadier than I felt. "After you'd spent all the money. I had debts, Sarah. You don't understand the pressure. I understand that you forged documents to steal from me." The room went silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. Marcus continued, his tone still calm but firm. "The buyers are aware of the situation. They're willing to reverse the sale. They don't want legal trouble. But they want full reimbursement plus their legal costs. That's approximately $185,000. Jennifer went pale. "I don't have that." "Then we have a problem. Because Miss Mitchell has every right to file a civil suit for fraud, petition to void the sale, and press criminal charges for forgery and theft." "Criminal charges?" David's voice cracked. "Jen, you said this was all legal." "It was. I thought she was falling apart now." Her voice rising. "Sarah, please. I'm your sister. You can't do this to me." I looked at her across that table, this woman who I'd grown up with, who I'd helped again and again, who'd used my grief and my trust as weapons against me. "You did this to yourself," I said quietly. "You stole our mother's house. You erased the place where she lived and died. For gambling debts. For credit cards. And you thought I'd never find out." Tears ran down Jennifer's face. "I was desperate. So was I. I lost Mom and my marriage in the same month. And instead of helping, you saw an opportunity to steal from me." Marcus let the silence sit for a moment, then spoke. "I'll give you 48 hours to decide. Either we work out a payment plan and restitution agreement, or we file suit Monday morning. And Miss Mitchell will decide then whether to pursue criminal charges." We stood. David hadn't said another word, just stared at his wife like he was seeing a stranger. As they left, I heard him say, "How much do you owe?" "How much gambling, Jen?" Her answer was too quiet to hear, but I saw his face change, saw the moment he understood that the lies went deeper than just the house. Marcus and I stayed in the office after they left. I felt hollow, exhausted, like I'd run a marathon. "What happens now?" I asked. "We wait. Either she finds a way to make this right, or we proceed with litigation. Either way, you'll get justice." "It doesn't feel like justice," I said. "It just feels sad." He nodded. "Most family cases do." Jennifer didn't have $185,000. Her husband refused to use their savings to bail her out. He'd discovered layers of debt she'd hidden from him, too. Within a week, he'd moved out of their apartment. The buyers agreed to void the sale in exchange for Jennifer signing over any claim to future proceeds. Marcus helped me reclaim the house through a court order. The whole process took 3 months. By January, I had the house back. It was empty now, stripped of furniture, echoing with memories I wasn't sure I wanted anymore. It needed work, new paint, repairs Jennifer had ignored. But it was mine again. I kept it for a year. Couldn't bring myself to sell right away. I'd go there on weekends, sitting in the empty living room, remembering Mom's laugh, the way the kitchen smelled when she made soup, the sound of her voice calling me for dinner. Jennifer declared personal bankruptcy. She couldn't pay back the money, so we reached a settlement. $300 a month for the next 10 years. I knew I'd never see most of it, but Marcus said it was better than nothing. She tried to call me once, a few months after everything settled. I let it go to voicemail. Her voice was small, broken. "Sarah, I'm sorry. I know you won't believe me, but I'm sorry. I hope someday you can forgive me." I deleted it, not out of cruelty, but because I knew that forgiveness, real forgiveness, wasn't possible yet. Maybe not ever. Our family split down the middle. Some relatives thought I'd been too harsh. "She's your sister. You should have worked it out privately." Others understood, offered support, told me I'd done the right thing. My father, who divorced Mom 20 years ago and barely stayed in touch, called to say I should let it go. I told him that was easy to say when it wasn't his mother's memory that had been stolen. We haven't spoken since. I finally sold the house last spring, almost 2 years after Mom died. A young family bought it, a couple with 2 kids and a dog. I watched them walk through it, their kids running excitedly through the rooms, and I felt peace for the first time. I got $182,000. After legal fees and repairs, I cleared about $155,000. I used it as a down payment on a small apartment near the school where I teach. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. Really, completely mine. I still see a therapist every other week. Some days are harder than others. I'll see something that reminds me of Jennifer, a song she loved, a store where we used to shop, and I feel this ache, this loss that's different from losing Mom but just as real. People ask if I regret it, if I wish I'd handled it differently, kept the peace, saved the relationship. The answer is no. Jennifer didn't just steal money. She stole the place where our mother died, where we grew up, where every memory of our childhood lived. She erased it for credit card debt and online poker games. And when caught, she expected me to stay quiet, to forgive, to let it go because that's what I'd always done. But silence isn't peace. It's just fear wearing a prettier name. I lost my sister. That's true. But I found something more important. My voice. My ability to say this is not okay and mean it. My understanding that family doesn't give you permission to abuse, to steal, to betray, and if it tries to, then maybe it's not really family at all. Last month, I started dating someone new. It's casual. Careful, I'm still learning how to trust again. But when he asked about my family, I told him the truth. All of it. And he didn't run. He just said, "That must have been so hard. I'm glad you stood up for yourself." I cried in his car. The good kind of crying. The kind that feels like healing. Mom's been gone almost 3 years now. I visit her grave once a month, bring fresh flowers, sit on the grass and tell her about my life. Sometimes I wonder what she'd think about everything that happened. Would she be proud that I fought? Sad that I lost my sister? Both? I like to think she'd understand. That she'd say what she used to say when I was little and someone hurt me. "Baby girl, you teach people how to treat you. Don't teach them you'll accept less than you deserve." So I didn't. The apartment I bought is small, 1 bedroom. A tiny kitchen, a living room that barely fits my couch and bookshelves. But every morning, I wake up and look around and think, this is mine. I earned this. I fought for this. Nobody can take it away. Jennifer sent me a card on my birthday this year. No return address, just "I'm sorry" written in her handwriting, and nothing else. I didn't respond, not because I'm cruel, but because I've learned that some relationships can't survive honesty. And that's okay. Some losses are necessary for survival. If you're reading this, if you're in a situation where someone you love is using that love against you, document everything. Find a lawyer who offers free consultations. Tell someone you trust what's happening. Don't let fear of conflict keep you silent. Because here's what I learned. The people who demand you keep the peace are usually the ones disturbing it. And protecting your peace sometimes means walking away from people who only want you quiet. I lost my sister. I lost half my family. I lost the illusion that blood always means loyalty. But I kept my dignity. I kept my mother's memory honored. I kept my self-respect. And some days, when I'm sitting in my apartment with my coffee and my books and my quiet, hard-won peace, I realize that's more than enough. That's everything.